We're with one of the greatest songwriters in any genre of music in the history of songs. I welcome the legendary Bobby Braddock. You get to town, you get a publisher, you meet some of the legendary writers of all time, and then this run begins. You're maybe the only songwriter I know of with number ones in 5 decades. You're in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. You're in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and I could give the accolades that would take the rest of the day. You get a compliment from me right here because music changes, and you changed with it. You wrote the first big country rap hit, right?
I want to talk about that. Yeah. And I thought it would be the only one, but then 10 years later, here comes Dirt Road Anthem, which I love, and then the Jason Aldean thing, 1994, which I really love.
This is stories behind the song. I want to focus on a couple of them. The first is I've heard it thousands of times, and every time I hear it, it just takes me into the place where music's supposed to take you. He stopped loving her today. From the first thought through George cutting it, just tell us the story behind that song. Your co-writer, everything.
Well, the song was around a long time before it's recorded. Curly Putman and I got together, and he says that I brought the idea to him, and we had a couple of sessions, writing sessions before it was completed, but then it wasn't really completed. We just thought it was, and it was like in the late '70s. It was not recorded till 1980, and Billy Sherrill asked us to add, that's George Jones' producer, Billy Sherrill asked us to add a verse about the protagonist's wife or girlfriend coming back to his funeral. And we had already written that and discarded it. Billy didn't like that, and we wrote 3 or 4 versions of it, got one that he liked. And I remember us going back and forth from the snow to Billy Sherrill's office, taking him, the different versions. We found one that he felt that we had nailed. And this is February 1980, and I'm not being insincerely modest when I tell you that I think Curly Putman and I both have written better songs than that. I think it's a good song, but I think this is one case where the performance by the artist and the production elevated this to just something just unbelievable. Because I thought the song was pretty good. I didn't think it was the greatest thing in the world. I remember we went over to Billy Sherrill's office to hear it. When he played that back, I mean, I thought, holy cow, man, I knew there was something very, very special there.
He's going through their final breakup. They'd kind of gone up and down that road before, and she gets with another guy, and so I think it's safe to say you wrote a song about what he was experiencing and feeling, and it was the love of his life.
Somebody asked me one time, said, does that bother you? So many people think that the artist wrote the song, and I said, no, because if the artist is putting that much emotion into it that they associate with it, I think that's a compliment to the songwriters, and he was in a place in his life, I think, where it sounded like it's something that he would be extrapolating about himself and Tammy down the road.
And the public, we've got all the TMZ and the Showbiz Tonight and all that, but there were other magazines and elements of it then, and I think the public cared about what George was going through and was even more empathetic about the song, don't you?
Probably so.
Do you remember where the idea came from? Do you remember because I know it sat around for a while and sometimes you don't, but do you remember anything about the day you and Curly walk in with this thing?
I remember that we were there's a possibility that my second wife may have had some influence on me, because she was sort of, I don't know, I guess she was sort of at that time sort of the love of my life, and we were getting into some stormy waters there, and I don't know if I have no idea if that was it or not, but I do remember Curly and I were doing some dark humor things, like, like, doesn't he look natural? I said, well, should have seen him a week ago. You know, we got all that out of the way. That was like in the summer, it was way back, summer of '77, I think it was. And then we got back together and finished it, as I say. We thought we finished it like in November '77. And Billy Sherrill, who I think is the genius of all geniuses as far as producers in that era, of course Owen Bradley was too. He preceded Billy by a few years. Billy feels that they went in there and cut that, and then went in and finished it later in 1980. But that couldn't be because we didn't write the recitation thing until a few days before he recorded it in 1980. So he would have had gone in the studio and said, okay, well, let's cut this whole long verse here, but leave it blank, because maybe Bobby and Curly will write a recitation here, you know.
Is it a blessing and a curse? Because I'm sure, especially outside of your peers and colleagues here on Music Row, and even there, it's probably hard for you to go anywhere that you don't have to talk about it, right? Is that a blessing, a curse, a little bit of both? Do you ever get tired of talking about that song?
No, not really. No. I was going to say, outside of the music business, I mean, most people don't know who write the songs. I went to a website about He Stopped Loving Her Today, and you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll before you see mine or Curly's name. I mean, most people, they don't even think about who wrote the song. A lot of people say, boy, that George Jones, he sure got good songs. I think they either think the artist wrote them or they just kind of grab them out of the air. You know? He said, I love you till I die. She told him, you'll forget in time. But as the years went slowly by, she still preyed upon his mind. He kept her picture on his wall, went half crazy now and then. He still loved her through it all, hoping she'd come back again. Found some letters by his bed, dated 1962. He had underlined in red every single I love you. I went to see him just today. Well, but I didn't see no tears, all dressed up to go away. First time I'd seen him smile in years. He stopped loving her today. Places wreathed upon the door, soon they'll carry him away. He stopped loving her today. You know, she came to see him one last time. She would. You know, it kept running through my mind. This time he's over her for good. He stopped loving her today. They placed a wreath upon the door, soon they'll carry him away. He stopped loving her today.